Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, dear Iowa. Good morning to you. Well, how are you doing today? This is a beautiful Saturday. If you like 20 degrees and clouds and the possibility of more clouds and more cold weather. It is, of course, January, and it's a new year, and we're doing our best to start off with a good frame of mind, a good attitude. I'm going to try and drop in some little classical music at the beginning of this podcast, and maybe end if I know how to hit the right buttons. We're talking about music. I mean, I was looking at different parts of the world here online and finding podcast music. And I came across this interesting article out of the Washington Post written by Richard Sima, S-I-M-A. And Richard entitles his article, "The urge to move to music is thought to be nearly universal. We listen to music with more than just our ears." According to Richard, we enjoy music not just through our ears, but also the rest of our body. When the music hits just right, we tap our feet, we snap our fingers, and begin to move. Impulses that are nearly irresistible. This urge to move to music is what scientists call groove. Researchers have reported that even 3-month-olds move spontaneously to music. "We think that it's a near universal," said Takahide Itani, a medical resident at Japanese Red Cross Ashikagi Hospital. He co-wrote a 2024 review on neuroscience and psychological research into groove. Itani said many other countries have words capturing a similar idea, such as nori, N-O-R-I, nori in Japanese, balanco in Brazilian, Portuguese, and svangig in Swedish. Psychological and neuroscience research suggests that the phenomenon of groove reveals something fundamental about how our brains work. We enjoy trying to predict how the music will go, and we move to help us make that prediction. When the musical rhythm is not completely predictable, it invites us to move and fill in the beat, said Mariah Witek, an associate professor of music at Britain's University of Birmingham, who researches music cognition. The music requires us to move to be complete, in a sense. The power of groove is that it makes music this distributed process that we actively take part in and kind of blurs the boundary between music and body and mind, she said. Musicians use groove in a larger context, such as describing a rhythmic part or feeling interlocked as a group when playing. Scientists, though, use the term more narrowly to mean the urge to move to music. But now all music gets us moving. One key musical element appears to be rhythmic complexity. Research has consistently reported an inverted U relationship between subjective reports of groove and interruptions of the music's regular time signature. The reason we tend to groove to music instead of, say, the sounds of a babbling brook is that music has more predictable patterns than the sounds of nature. Music has a time signature that we can predict, but the notes in the song may deviate from it, adding to its complexity and difficulty in predicting. There seems to be a Goldilocks zone for music's predictability and complexity. Too much complexity, and it is boring. No need to predict anything. Too much complexity, and it is too difficult to predict what comes next. But with just the right amount of complexity, trying to figure out what comes next becomes enjoyable. We need some regularity in order to be able to move along. But if it's too irregular, then we're not able to even predict where the beat is, Whitehead said. People who listen to the same music move together, and research has shown that synchrony between people predicts how similar they feel they are and pro-social behavior. In this way, music may serve an important role in strengthening social bonds. If we are all moving to the same drummer, that boundary between you and the music and the people around you gets blurred, Whitehead said. Ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya. That is a cheer developed 100 years ago from St. Olaf College in Minnesota. That's their football cheer or their basketball cheer. And it is a big dopamine producer. I use it as an audience participation gimmick when I'm speaking at libraries and other venues. And it's easy to learn, and it's attractive to the mind, and it stimulates dopamine. Give it a try. Ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya ya, ya. All right, now that the dopamine is pumping, here's item 2 from today's story. It's the magic number 988. Hope has a new number, 988. It's a suicide and crisis lifeline. 24/7, call, text, or chat. No matter where you're at, if you got a phone or an iPad or a laptop, dial up 988. I've got a little article here from the Des Moines Register that was written by Amber Pulido, Pulido. She's a guest columnist. She's a crisis counselor here in Iowa. And she supports contacts through the 988 lifelining. Here's the article from Amber. 988 was supposed to be different. It was created to fix what wasn't working, to be a number you could call in your darkest moment. Not to summon police, but to reach someone who would listen. Someone who wouldn't rush your pain or try to reason it away. Someone who would simply stay, offering care that said, "You don't have to be anything more or anything less to be worthy of help." For a while, that promise felt real. As a crisis counselor in Iowa's 988 Lifeline, I've supported callers across the state. Farmers and students, veterans and teens, parents, grandparents, LGBTQIA plus youth, all of them turning to 988 because there was no other door open at 2 a.m. And the line didn't just answer the call, it answered the person. But in 2025, the structure around that promise began to change. The federal agency that built 988, SAMHSA, it's SAMHSA, SAMHSA, was dissolved. Overnight, shifted to a new entity, the Administration for a Healthy America. Soon after, the LGBTQ subline was shut down, a subline that more than 262,000 people used in just the first half of 2025. Not because it wasn't working, not because it wasn't needed, but because the priorities above us had shifted. Now the entire system is under review. Will culturally responsive care still be funded? Will counselors still be trained to meet people where they are? Or will we look up one day and realize the lifeline no longer feels like one? Here in Iowa, where access to mental health care is already limited, the stakes are high. 988 has been a lifeline in more ways than one. We need to protect what made it matter before we lose more than just a number. We can still hold the heart of what 988 was meant to be. But if we don't just lose a promise. We lose people. So there's something else for you to call your congressman about, or your senator. Some of them don't seem to be doing anything, but the fact that this oversight and SAMHSA was dissolved sure sounds political to me. And oversight shifted to a new entity called Administration for a Healthy America. And why is LGBTQ subline shut down? Where are those 262,000 people going to go to? That's got my blood cooking now. I got to go have some coffee. Anyway, this is Jim Stoordal, and I'm in central Iowa, and I've written 8 books. They're available, self-published on Amazon. I write about bipolar disorder, living with bipolar disorder. I have had bipolar disorder all my life, but I didn't realize it until I was helping my youngest daughter who showed signs of bipolar disorder. And sure enough, old Dad's been dealing with it all his life. No wonder I've had so many jobs. 60. Can you beat that? 60 jobs in your life? I've been retired since 2008, holding about a dozen part-time gigs. The most recent one, last 3 years, I worked as a wedding officiant. That is really cool. You can contact me online anywhere. Hashtag Jim the Bus Driver. You can look at my YouTube channel at Jim the Bus Driver. Or you can dial up, look up Stoordal, Stordal, Stoordal.james@gmail.com. We'll be talking to you real soon. Bye-bye.